As of November 21, 2025, the Trump administration has put forward a detailed 28-point framework aimed at ending the nearly 4-year war between Russia and Ukraine. This working document, confirmed by U.S. officials and shared in part by Ukrainian sources, reflects input from both Russian and Ukrainian sides during recent diplomatic contacts. The plan remains under discussion, with ongoing negotiations and possible changes. Today, we'll break down the key elements factually, based on reporting from multiple outlets, and note the positions of the parties involved. The proposal emerged from meetings involving U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Russian officials, including Kirill Dmitriev, an advisor to President Putin. It was presented to Ukrainian representatives, including Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, and, separately, to President Zelensky during talks with U.S. Army Secretary Dan Driscoll in Kyiv. A White House official described the discussions as productive. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt stated that the plan was crafted to reflect the realities after years of conflict, seeking a scenario where both sides gain more than they concede. If agreed upon, the plan calls for an immediate ceasefire. On territory, Russia would retain control of Crimea, fully annexed in 2014, and the Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts in the Donbas region, much of which has been occupied since 2022. Parts of Donetsk still held by Ukraine would be ceded, but designated as a neutral buffer zone without Russian military presence. In Kherson and Zaporizhzhia oblasts, the conflict would freeze along current front lines, allowing Russia to maintain areas it holds, including a land bridge to Crimea. These terms align with Russia's current control of approximately 1/5 of Ukraine, but would involve Ukraine recognizing additional losses beyond pre-2022 lines. Ukraine's military would be capped at 600,000 personnel, down from recent estimates of around 880,000. The plan explicitly bars Ukraine from NATO membership, requiring a constitutional amendment to remove existing aspirations for joining the alliance. NATO would commit not to accept Ukraine or deploy troops there. In exchange, Ukraine retains the right to join the European Union and would gain interim access to EU markets. For Russia, the framework includes commitments against invading neighbors and pledges no further NATO eastward expansion beyond current members. A US-led security guarantee is outlined. In case of a future Russian reinvasion, a decisive, coordinated military response would follow, along with reinstated sanctions. This guarantee ends if Ukraine initiates aggression, such as invading Russia or targeting major Russian cities. Ukraine would hold national elections within 100 days of an agreement, delayed since the war began due to martial law. On the economic side, a major reconstruction package includes $100 billion from frozen Russian assets invested in Ukraine, led by the US, plus another $100 billion from Europe. Funds would support Ukrainian cities, tech development, mining, and gas sectors. Sanctions on Russia would lift in stages, with remaining frozen assets beyond the initial $100 billion directed to a joint US-Russia investment fund. Additional elements include exchanging all civilian detainees, including children, amnesty for actions during the war, educational programs against prejudice, Russia's return to the G8/G7+ format, extended US-Russia arms control treaties, Ukraine remaining non-nuclear, and unrestricted Ukrainian commercial use of the Dnipro River. A peace council chaired by President Trump would monitor and enforce the agreement, with a Russia-NATO security dialogue and non-aggression pacts. President Zelensky confirmed receipt of the draft, calling it America's vision, and said teams would continue working on provisions while outlining Ukraine's principles. Ukrainian officials noted technical-level talks only, without approvals. European governments were aware of US efforts, but not involved in drafting, and had not received full briefings as of November 21st. Former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine William Taylor described the plan as very pro-Russia in a CBS interview. Diplomatic conversations continue, and acceptance by both sides remains uncertain.